Hey everybody, just wanted to move on to the next section, which is domain and range. So this is not brand new stuff that you should already remember from previous math classes. We've talked about it multiple times. You always hit it at the beginning, but this is going to be something that's going to be important not only in this class, but it's going to be also important if you go to pre-cal. Not sorry, if you go to like AP Calculus, you go to advanced functions or anything of that sort, domain and range is always going to be important there. So let's go ahead and move to our information. So again, domain and range, we've already seen this before, not brand new. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of put another spin on it, but you already know that domain means your x values. X values. But also those x values, what if, for example, let's say that your function is actually f of y or f of t and equals like t squared plus t cubed, blah, blah, blah. So the values there aren't x values, the values are actually t. So instead of actually just saying x values, we're going to keep that part because that's what we know already. We're also going to put here your input values or your inputs, which means what you put into the function. So that could be any letter. It could be t, it could be x, it could be q, could be whatever they give you for that function. So not just x values, but whatever is the input, whatever is put into the function. And then our range is going to be our y values, or, because again, you're going to deal with other things other than just x and y, we're going to call this our outputs. In other words, whatever comes out, output, whatever comes out of the function once you put your input in. So inputs, outputs, inputs, output. Okay. So with that, let's go into a problem where we're going to deal with evaluating, and then we're going to talk about domain and range of that function. All right, so here's example 1, and we're going to evaluate each function for the given value or the input. And here we have a equals, or a, the first one, f of negative 4 is what we're trying to find. And we're going to do the function f of x equals 3x cubed minus 7x squared minus 2x. Now, hopefully at this point you already know how to evaluate. So this shouldn't be something that we're going to spend a whole lot of time on. So I'm not going to do a whole lot of time here. So, you know, all you're going to do is just substitute the 4 in for x, right? Sorry, negative 4 in for x. So whenever we see an x, you put negative 4 in that spot. And hopefully you don't need a calculator to work this out at all. Hopefully not. Oh, we got stuff in the middle. I'll get that out of the way in a few seconds. Oh, we got to get that out of the way. Move. There you go. All right, so now at that point we go ahead and work it out. So we raised this to the third power, which should give us 64. Negative 64, sorry. Raise this to the second power, gives us positive 16. And then we multiply it by the coefficients and take our numbers through. So whenever we finish, the answer is negative 296. Now, for this problem, and I'm going to say f of negative 4 equals that. So make sure you have that part because that is important. Now, what I'm going to do here is actually just label your domain and range for this function. So now that we worked it out, we know what the answers are. We're going to say our domain for the function is our input. So what did we put into the problem? In this case, we're going to say x equals negative 4. And it's always going to be, for right now, x equals whatever the value is that you put into the function. Right? And then your range will be f of negative 4, which is your y value here for this problem, equals negative 296. And remember again, f of x, or f of that number, is your y value. And then the value over here is actually what y equals. So that is your range. So domain will be x equals whatever you put into the problem. And then your range will be f of whatever number it is that you put into the problem equals the answer. Okay, so let's do another one really quickly before we go into like more in-depth things. So let's do B, and then we're gonna go ahead and stop the video. So we're gonna do, sorry, not F, but G. Let's do G. Because we like different letters, because in the future you're gonna see different letters coming at you. So we're gonna do G of 9, and our G of X function will be the absolute value of 6x minus 77. Oops. And with this problem, we already know again what we're going to do. We're going to substitute 9 into the function for x. So we know x equals 9 here. So we're going to substitute that into the function. And whatever we see the x, put the 9 in a spot. And then we're going to evaluate it. All right. And so here we know we get 63 here, sorry, 54 here, my fault, minus 77. So inside a parenthesis, or in absolute value bar, we have a negative 23. Yay. But again, the biggest part is remembering what happens when you have absolute value bars. Whatever is inside the absolute value bars comes out positive. Perfect. So we have a positive 23 as our final answer because the absolute value. So again, we're going to do domain and range here to make sure that we actually remember that part. So let's make it green again. And again, domain is what we substitute into the problem, the input. So it's going to be x equals 9. And I'm going to be looking for that x equals part because that's very vital, very important when you're writing it out so we can understand what you are talking about. And your G of 9 equals 23 is your range. And again, I want it to be written out with the function here, G of 9, with that. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. And then the next video, we're going to go ahead and do 2 more that are a little bit more complex, but very still simple and easy for everybody, hopefully.